Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast for HowToRaiseAnAwesomeKid.com. And I am Justin, and this is Eric. And
Hey.
welcome to another week.
Welcome.
We're talking about, what were you just talking about? A Lifetime movie, Liz and Dick?
Yeah, we being parents of an infant, we watch things when we can, and we just now got around to that.
You got around to it, so this is like sitting on the DVR?
Yeah,
waiting to be watched?
just waiting.
Wow.
Just waiting.
So your wife said that that Lifetime is kind of like the Lifetime movies are kind of popular among her crowd.
Yeah, I guess all the girls she knows watches them, and she doesn't understand why. It doesn't make sense.
I have to admit, my wife is a big Lifetime fan. Like, she will absolutely sit down and watch a bunch of that during Christmas. Because what do? That's like a solid month of nothing but, I won't talk about the quality. They're
not actual Christmas movies. They're Lifetime Christmas movies, aren't they?
They're just barely. They just barely have something to do. Like, the only difference is that nothing horrific is happening, I guess. Like, in the rest of the Lifetime movies, terrible things are happening to women, and in the Christmas ones, wonderful things are happening to women. So I guess that's the difference.
Maybe
that's
sweet.
Why she likes it. Is because she's she's cup half full type of person.
Merry Christmas, women.
Yeah. So tell me about. Did you want to talk about Liz and Dick? Was there?
I was half paying attention to it because, I wasn't really watching it because it's really tough for me to focus on stuff like that at this point.
Yeah.
I just kind of
that's
watched
why
it.
the Lord
that's
Jesus
pretty bad.
invented iPads. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just kind of sort of watched it, and what'd you pick? That's the one that has this stars Lindsay Lohan, right?
That's right.
Awesome. So, what do you think?
Poor girl. She's been in better shape.
I just read. Did you read that article? Somebody read an article about. I guess
the Canyons?
he tagged along. Yeah, he was on the set for that. Did you read that?
Yeah.
Like the in-depth expose about that. Apparently, that was a complete train wreck.
It makes me sad because I liked her back in Mean Girls. I thought she was hilarious on SNL.
Is Mean Girls a dude? Can a dude watch Mean Girls?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Probably not alone.
That's my problem. That's my problem. I'm a big Tina Fey fan, so it was like, all right, we should watch Mean Girls. This is her joint, so I got to watch it.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
And so I sat down alone and watched the first 10 minutes of it, and I turned it off because I was like, this is not for a dude to sit by, for a grown man to sit by himself and watch. This is not.
You turned it off because the movie made you question your masculinity to yourself.
No, not at all.
Real mature.
I just felt like this is not the right thing to do. I don't know. Should wait till there's a girl in the room. So yeah, I never saw more than the first 10 minutes. But it's good. You're saying it's.
Oh yeah, it's a good movie.
You want to come over and watch it with me?
Sure, I'll bring popcorn if you can bring the nail polish.
Nice. So we'll braid each other's hair. so that's good. You said you like Lindsay Lohan back then.
Yeah, I thought she was pretty decent back in the day, but yes.
Yeah, it sounds like she's a mess, but oh well. There's got to be. I guess somebody has to be a mess every once in a while, right?
Yeah, and her parents, they probably could have used to listen to this podcast and really understand parenting.
They probably could have. It sounds like they are a train wreck when it comes to parenting. They're not the best.
Sounds like, man.
All right, so what's new with your kids, man? What's going on?
The baby started crawling, so he is into everything, and his older brother is finally feeling the implications of what it's like to have a kid brother.
Oh no. Oh, like as in somebody who can come over and take away his toys.
Yes, who can come over and try to eat his toys.
Nice. That's fun.
He's got this bat cave that has like a string and a hook attached to the end of it, like coming out of the wall. And Harrison just keeps on coming over and like chewing on the hook. It's like he's the world's dumbest fish.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the kids are good for that, right?
Yeah, sure. But he's sprouting teeth on top of all this walking and stuff, or crawling.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah, that just means a lot of slabbering all over the place.
Some sleepless nights.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, my kid is also he's also some teeth are coming in. That's for sure. He's and you can tell. You can always tell because he's overly cranky.
Mm-hmm.
like way overly cranky. Just everything kind of puts him into a tailspin.
Yeah.
So, more than ever, actually, I think in the last week, we probably dosed him like 3 times with Tylenol.
Yeah.
Because it's just, we're starting to get to that point where that's like the only thing that really helps him. And I feel bad about doing that, but then when you read the box, it says, don't give them more than 5 doses in a 24-hour period. And it's like, all right, well, I guess it's okay to give him 3 in a week. It's not that bad.
Yeah, that's all right.
That's another failing, I guess. Well, it's one of those things before you become a parent, you're like, well, I'm not going to over-medicate my kid. And I guess I'm not over-medicating, but still, like, you start feeling like, I don't know, like you're taking a shortcut.
That's before you stay up all night with them a few times.
That's happened like twice this week. Yeah. And since my wife goes to the office, so I'm the one that's up with him all night. And I, it's tough. It's just the next day, it's just zombie-like, it's tough kind of recovering from that. So the other thing that I kind of have been cheating on or shortcutting on was I've started to let my kid, he's 16 and a half months now, so I've started to let him watch Sesame Street.
Cool.
I was one of those things where it's like, well, I'm not going to put my kid down in front of a TV and walk away. But I
that's
caught
a cute
myself
sentiment.
doing that. I caught myself. Yeah, I've always had that sentiment. I was like, you other parents can do that. I'm not. I'm going to be a attentive parent.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be there.
Yeah.
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 So that kind of went away this week.
Yeah.
Because, but how I justify it though is it wasn't like I needed a break type of thing. It's just that
it's just that he needed to be quiet.
I'm getting a little bit of anxiety about maybe the idea that he's not around enough other talking kids. And I was thinking about last podcast I were talking about my sister's kid who's he's 3 months older than mine, and he's a chatterbox, but he also goes to daycare. And so I was starting to think like maybe if he's sitting down in front of Sesame Street for a half hour a day and he gets to see a bunch of kids chattering all the time, maybe that's a good influence. So that was my justification. It's like this probably isn't the worst thing. I'm sure he's not going to learn anything. Of course, he already loves Elmo. It's like 2 days in, and he thinks Elmo is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
In fact, he'll watch it and he'll look at me like, "Did you know this was here? Did you know about this and you weren't sharing this with me?" He's pretty ecstatic about it. So
at that age, I think Julian was watching a bit of Dinosaur Train and Super Y.
Yeah.
He'd go over to stay with my parents, and that's what my stepdad would. That's what was on when he was over there. So that's what they'd kind of watch.
Yeah, Dinosaur Train I think is on Netflix, and I've recently resubscribed to Netflix.
Welcome back.
We watch Sesame Street. Yeah, that's where we watch Sesame Street. There's like 7 seasons of Sesame Street on Netflix too. So it's good for that. I mean, I think we're going to be in it for the long haul with Netflix as long as they have all that kid stuff.
You and the kiddo could get caught up on Louie.
Yeah, that's right. We can watch a little bit of Louie and what's the Todd Margaret one? What's the name of that one? The continuing misadventures of Todd Margaret.
Something like that. You were close.
So, I saw that there's some new episodes of that on, and I'm very excited about that. So I have to watch some of that. So anyway, enough about my kids. So your kids crawling? Anything else? What were you saying tonight? You went to a PTA bingo game?
Yeah, it was a big school fundraiser bingo game, and oh my gosh. It was like same card bingo, where the first kid who gets bingo gets a big prize. But then they keep going for like 10 more numbers, and whoever gets a bingo gets some little piece of crap prize. So whenever the announcer would be like, all right, we're going to switch to the new card, like half the room starts shouting, same card, except imagine just a bunch of kids doing that.
Man.
As loud as they can.
What were we talking about, like 100 kids or the 500 kids?
Probably closer to the 500, I think.
Wow.
And
that sounds like fun.
I came out of it with like PTSD. It wasn't pleasant.
Yeah, no, that doesn't sound like fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Like we thought we'd go, it'd be like, oh, that'll be a nice little cheap thing to do for the night. Because they had like cheap snacks. I got like a bag of popcorn for 50 cents. It was a tiny paper bag that was half full, so that was nice.
Wait, are you complaining about the cheap popcorn?
I am totally complaining. It's like I understand
they got to make their profit.
You want to do a small bag for 50 cents? Fine. Use the whole bag. Don't fill it up halfway.
You're eating into their profits, man. Come on.
Popcorn. Popcorn costs approximately nothing per kernel.
Why don't you push another 2 quarters across the counter and say, "Listen, just go ahead and fill this thing up." Go ahead. That's what you should do, just like a mafia boss.
It's like the sad thing is they had bags of popcorn that were completely filled. Like in the queue, it's just the girl handed me one that was half full. It was I think it was personal.
She looked at you and she's like, "Hey, buddy,
that's all you get.
This is all you're getting." You know, for I should admit, for the last year or so, I've been kind of fantasizing and adding on my Amazon wish list actual real like movie theater style popper.
Yeah.
Like the real ones that you put the kernels and the oil in and all that stuff. And like a real, I don't know, $180 thing. And I was like, I'm absolutely going to get this thing one day. It's on my list. I'm going to get this. And I don't know. I'm starting to think about it. Like there's a Target right down the street, and the Target has that same popcorn you're talking about for $1 for a bag, and it's amazing. And I was like, I'd have to make like 180 loads of popcorn in this machine in order for it to like break even with just going to Target. That's a lot of popcorn, so I think we're just gonna go to Target.
Yeah, I've got a relative
Plus,
that has
it would stink up the house too.
I've got a relative that has a home theater with like the home theater seating and the big screen TV and all the cool stuff, and he also has one of those old timey popcorn maker stands. And
it's awful, right? Just tell me that it's awful.
I don't know. I've never seen it used.
Oh, okay, good, all right.
So
I'll take that.
You'll probably do the same.
Yeah. I don't know. One of these days, maybe. There's also. Did you ever see on Parks and Rec? There was an episode where they have a soft serve ice cream dispenser.
Where at?
There's. I don't remember what I think. I don't even remember what the scenario was, but yeah, there was somebody bought somebody else, or somebody bought. They were going camping actually, I think, and Tom bought a soft serve ice cream thing with him.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I paused that episode and went and looked on Amazon right then. I was like, "What? Where can I get this?" And it's on there. It's only like $100, and I was like, "All right, I must have this." But then again, it's one of those things like, this is stupid. Like, you don't need this junk.
It's so good.
I don't need another piece of kitchen. Like any type of kitchen gadget, I'm done. I've reached my max.
We had a food processor, but we never used it, so I think we got rid of it at some point. Yeah. But now I'm kind of into making my own hummus, so I kind of wish I had it back.
How do you make hummus?
It's really easy. There's use a bunch of chickpeas, aka garbanzo beans. I use a little bit of this thing that's kind of like the, I think, sunflower seed version of peanut butter, or sesame seed version of that, called tahini. It's expensive as heck. It's like $8 for this little container, but a little container will last you for 4 or 5 batches of hummus.
Nice.
You get all this stuff into a blender, or ideally a food processor. You put some other stuff in it too. I do some olive oil to kind of keep it a little lighter and fluffier. And you just blend the crap out of it. You can add whatever you want. Throw some garlic in there. Throw some roasted pepper. Throw some cayenne pepper. It's easy.
Huh. That's cool. So, when I get hummus at the store, it's kind of oily. Mm-hmm. Is that just natural, or you think they add oil?
Well, the tahini is really oily.
Yeah.
And the first batch I made did not go very well. It's like I put it in the blender and started blending, and everything just sat there. It ended up being a very thick, pasty hummus, which it was edible. It was okay, but it was just a real pain in the butt to use.
So it's more like butter, like peanut butter, kind of like a hummus butter.
No, it was thicker than that. This was kind of like paste. But the adding a little bit of olive oil makes it all go together a bit easier.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know, man. I don't have any type of way of making that, but that's great. Thanks for sharing.
It's way cheaper than buying it at the store. Do you have a blender?
No.
Really?
Well, maybe. I don't know. We haven't used. If we do, we haven't used it. I know. Before we moved here, we had it. We also got one of those little hand mixers. You know what I'm talking about? Maybe we could do.
I don't know if that would work or not.
But you know what I'm talking about? Like the one, I don't know. There was really popular a couple years ago. Like, it's kind of like this hand mixer with just a blade, a really sharp blade on the end. And it's great for anything. Like, you can use it for hot.
Oh yeah, I bet that would work.
Yeah, not like a hand
Yeah,
mixer.
yeah.
Not
Not
one
like
of
a
those
hand
the
mixer, but a
feeders.
hand mixer.
Yeah. Yeah, not that hand mixer.
Yeah, the other one.
All right, man. Maybe I'll give that a shot. We'll see. There's not too much interest for hummus around here lately,
That's too
but
bad because hummus is great.
what do you do with? Do you use pita or you just go on the vegetables
I
for dipping?
usually carrots and broccoli.
That's smart. Broccoli.
Yeah,
Raw?
raw.
I guess you have to, right?
Yeah, raw broccoli. That's why they call me Raw Dog.
Oh, all right. So today I wanted to try something new. I wanted to try actually having a format, like having something to talk about, and it goes in line with what I eventually want to do on the site, which was to have a just kind of a listing of just like age appropriate books and movies and songs and maybe even eventually down the line video games and maybe TV shows or something like that. But that's kind of what I wanted us to do, is maybe we'll just like nominate and maybe debate a little bit whether or not somebody should be on that list. But go ahead and just nominate. And I went ahead and called it before we started the podcast. Just one book, 2 movies, and 3 songs to be on the list. And maybe we'll try to figure out what the appropriate age is. I'll go ahead and write down whatever we're talking about. So I figure we'll just go back and forth. You want to go ahead and start with your book?
Sure.
All right. What do you got?
All right, I'll go a little cliche on it. I'm really looking forward to when I can get my kid into The Hobbit.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
All right. So what do you start with then? You start with The Hobbit.
The Hobbit. The Hobbit. The Hobbit.
All right. You know, I never really got into those movies. I mean, I'm sorry, those books. I actually would seriously consider beating up kids when I saw them reading those books. They're just never my thing. But tell me all about The Hobbit. Tell me what is it about The Hobbit that you want your kid to get into?
Well, I mean, it's a kid's story, and it's fantasy, and I think it's the kind of fantasy you can get into without being a total fantasy nerd.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a story about going and finding a dragon and getting treasure back. It's pretty simple, really.
Yeah. Well, don't spoil it for me, man.
I mean, you certainly don't need to watch 9 hours worth of film to get the story. I mean, you could probably read the book in less time than that. Yeah. But I mean, I'm just kind of comparing it to some other big kids' books. And Harry Potter, I mean, the first few books are good, but I think it really falls apart towards the end. And I'd rather just do The Hobbit with my kiddo.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably room for both. I mean, eventually, when you're talking about a kid who might get into that type of stuff, or a kid, especially if you can get your kid to read those Harry Potter books, I think that's a great thing. It's not a terrible thing to. I don't think that they're worst quality, and even then, it's still like it's a decent amount of. It's great for their vocabulary. It's just it's a good way to spend their time. So, but yeah, so would you then go into like Lord of the Rings from there?
I'd probably let him do that on his own when he gets a little older.
Yeah.
Because the gravity of each book. I mean, I don't imagine you've read it, but I mean, you've seen the movies, eh?
Yeah. I saw the movies contentiously. I hated them.
Yeah.
And then my wife, turns out she's a super big Lord of the Rings nerd. So we went back and watched through them, and they're warming on me. You know, like I was just fantasy was never really my thing. But then when you watch like Game of Thrones, and my wife did the same thing. She's also a big Harry Potter nerd. Mm-hmm. So she took me through like Harry Potter, and again, I didn't really have much interest in those beforehand, but. And again, we're only talking about the movies here. I haven't read any of these books. But she, after going through all the Harry Potter movies and Game of Thrones, you start to kind of get warm to it, and it's like, all right, well, I guess this isn't the worst thing ever. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so Lord of the Rings is okay, and we did actually see the Hobbit movie. So
you see, I thought about it. I was going to go see it, but then it came out, and it's like, no, I'm good. It's what, 3 hours long?
Yeah.
And that's the first third?
Something like that. Yeah.
And that's the first third of a children's book?
Yeah.
Yeah. No thanks.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. It's all right. I think it's good for a kid. Maybe that's a good jumping off point. Maybe for if you have a kid who is reluctant to read, maybe you sit them down in front of that movie and you say, like, here's this, and you want to find out what happens next, check out this book, It might not be a terrible thing to kind of initiate that process. I don't know. I'm always wary of that because I don't anticipate that my kid's going to have a tough time being a big fan of reading.
Yeah.
But I'm scared to death that he's going to hate reading. So always looking out for ways to kind of trick a kid into reading.
Read with them. That's the easy thing.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right. So I was, what we're gonna talk about here is basically kind of movies and books and songs that your kids should see before they turn 18. They don't have to be the greatest things in the world, but they should be something that they should see. So it will be all over the map. I mean, Eric just gave a suggestion. I was going to say, what age would you say The Hobbit is good for? What point would you think he should?
Let me see. I think the 5-year-old might be a little young yet, so probably when he's 6 or 7.
6 or 7. Is there anything? I mean, is it kind of violent and scary, or is it?
No, I mean that's the thing about the book, and from what I understand, it's a big difference with the movie. Is the book doesn't have the same gravity as Lord of the Rings does. It's not about the end of the world. It's a children's book. It was written as a children's book.
Yeah, I can't remember from the movie if there was any, like, I want to say there may have been like some beheadings. There's definitely stabbings and bows and arrows. Arrows getting shot through people's necks and that type of fun stuff.
Oh yeah,
so
that's a downer.
Yeah, so there's definitely stuff. I mean, it's bad guys. I mean, they're doing like, ugly troll things.
Oh yeah,
so
if it's ugly, kill it.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, all right, 6 or 7. I don't know, man. Like I remember that being kind of like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings being kind of a popular thing when I was in middle school. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. Those kids were late bloomers. It seems to me like I don't know. I'm not going to debate it with you, man. 6 or 7. If you say 6 or 7, then 6 or 7 it is.
Yeah, I think.
So, I'd say around 7. That's probably the only fantasy I really got into was like Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah.
And those books, I was probably 9 when I read those books, or 8 or 9 when I read those books. So, and I think that was like a good fit. That was a good age for that.
Well, I kind of see The Hobbit as something I read with him. Like, here's a chapter before bed, and we read it together.
Yeah, all right, I can see that. All right, so my book is Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. Did you get a chance? Have you heard of this one? Have you read it?
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've read it.
It's good. I kind of vaguely remember what it's about, but it's a fun book to read with kids. It is definitely a book you can read to like a 3 or 4-year-old, and it's I'm not going to give away the plot mostly because I don't even remember what the plot was. It was over at my my mother-in-law's house. She had it there, and I read it to my niece, and she was 4 at the time. And I mean, there's certain parts where I guess Alexander tells everybody or saying that he's had a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, and so you scream that part out, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, I would recommend that one. If you have a 3 or 4-year-old, go ahead and pick it up. It's a good, it's a big picture book type of thing. So it's whatever it is, 20, 30 pages, and that's the end of it.
Cool.
So why don't we move on to movies?
All right.
You have movie number 1.
All right.
Recommendation.
Movie number 1, and this might be when he's a touch older again, but I want to watch Silent Movie with him.
Silent Movie.
Silent Movie. Ever seen it?
You're talking about like no, I haven't seen it, but you're talking about like is it Mel Brooks?
Yep.
Wow. All right. Well, tell me anything about Silent Movie because I don't really know anything.
Well,
I just know it's from what the 70s, right?
Yeah. I think it was his follow up to Young Frankenstein.
Okay.
And any kid can appreciate the kind of Mel Brooks humor, even though sometimes it skews a little more adult.
Yeah.
But Silent Movie is what the title indicates. It is a silent movie. They've got a couple of grown-up jokes that they do throw in there, but for the most part, I mean, it's a lot of slapstick and sight gags and that kind of thing. I mean,
so it's legitimately silent with just like a music track, right?
Yep. And
there's subtitles or title cards.
Yeah, they use the title cards.
Okay.
And I think there's
so kid has to read.
Yeah, the kid has to read, even though it's not too much of a burden to read it to them. I mean, the whole thing isn't just ridiculous with title cards. They show up when appropriate.
Gotcha. Okay. So a lot of slapstick, you're saying, and that type of thing. Pratfalls.
It's excellently executed comedy.
All right. Well, silent movie from somewhere in the 70s, probably late 70s. I think that was Young Frankenstein was what?
I think
like
mid 70s.
Yeah. Okay. All right, silent movie, and you'd say that's appropriate for what age?
Let me see. I wouldn't feel bad watching it when Julian's around now, but I think he'd probably enjoy it more when he's closer to 12 or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So my first suggestion is Babe.
Oh, that's
Big
a good
movie.
one.
Yeah. Did you like Babe?
I did.
I liked Babe a lot. I don't know.
That'll do, pig.
So, yeah, exactly. It hit me like in just the right spot. I mean, obviously, I was old when I saw that. I was probably when that came out,
43.
So I was like, yeah, I was like 16 or 17. Like it's probably, and that's probably speaks to like the way it works on two levels. It's obviously it's a kids movie. There's talking animals, but it actually has a decent story, and I think it was nominated for Best Picture that year. So up against Braveheart, and it lost to Braveheart. So, but yeah, I mean, Babe, and Babe is something that you could show a 3-year-old, and they'd enjoy it. I don't know. You'd have to have a pretty emotionally, well, not emotionally, but just kind of. I don't know if it'd be appropriate for like a teenager. I think a teenager would probably think that's below them. But
well, you watched it when you were 16. I was probably about the same age.
But my brain works differently than most people.
I still get a little. It's one of those kids movies that makes me a little misty eyed at the end.
Yeah, I wasn't going to admit that, but yes, absolutely, it does. It's I don't know, something about I'm a sucker for like crowds cheering. So not to give away the ending, but there are crowds cheering at the end. So it's it's a good movie. It's a good. It's I guess they shot it in Australia, I think, or New Zealand, and it's cool. It's really good, and don't watch the sequel. I understand. I have never seen the sequel, but I understand the sequel was like a cash grab. It was like, all right, we made this movie, and it ended up being kind of artsy, but also got like Best Picture nomination. They made lots of money, so let's go ahead and make a sequel that's just basically all out kiddie and there to get some money and that type of thing. So,
I actually heard the sequel was pretty good.
did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh. All right, well then maybe do see the sequel. All right, I'll put that on my list. I should go see the sequel.
Yeah.
So, Babe, I'll say 5. I'll say 5, and with the idea that maybe you revisit it.
Yeah, they can grow
again
into it a
down the
little
road.
bit.
Yeah. So show your kids Babe at 5. All right, what's your movie number 2?
All right. I think another good one to watch with the kid is My Neighbor Totoro.
Wow. All right, man.
Yeah, I'm going.
So you picked 2 movies I haven't even seen. All right, so this is Japanimation or anime, right, or whatever. What would you call that?
It is, but I don't love lumping it into with that because then you usually think of a bunch of bunch of weird crap.
Yeah. So there's some great ones out there. So My Neighbor. Hold on, I'm writing this down. My Neighbor. How do you spell it?
Totoro, Totoro.
Okay. And so give me like a quick summary of the plot. What are we doing? What's it about?
Well, I mean, it's about a couple of girls who are moving to a new house with their father, and their mother is gravely ill. They never really go into detail with that.
Is it like The Ring? Is there somebody living in the TV, or what's?
No,
what's
I
the
mean
story?
that's kind of
somebody living in the closet that drips from the ceiling.
That's kind of the thing about the movies. It's just a sweet movie. There's not like.
Well, this is a Japanese movie and it's about little girls. So tell me, come on, man, break it even. What's going on?
No, I mean there's nothing crazy going on in it. I mean the girls end up spending time with a couple of forest spirits who help get them through, I guess, whatever they're going through. And a friendly cat bus that takes them to see their mom at one point. But it's a different movie than what you'd usually get from kids animation here in the West. There's not a bad guy. There's not a massive conflict. Some kids might think it's maybe a little boring because of that, but it's just kind of a sweet movie. The director behind it, Miyazaki, big name in Japanese animation, and he's also one of the guys that a lot of like Disney animators look up to. A lot of the other movies done by his studio have been brought over to America by Disney because people like John Lasseter are just absolutely crazy for this director.
Oh, did he do stuff like Spirited Away?
Yep.
Or okay?
Yeah, same director, same studio.
Wow. All right. Well, cool, man.
And in fact, the Totoro, if you've ever seen those things,
here's...
like the Totoro is the logo for that studio. It's kind of a very large rodent-looking thing, and it's very cute.
Yeah, I mean that'd be refreshing to see a cartoon that's not. I should say not cartoon, animated film that's not. It doesn't have. It's not a musical. And, yeah, you're right. It doesn't have like a villain.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting to see.
It's the antithesis of like obnoxious American animation.
So let me ask you this: what would you say, is that something that you place near the end of the timeline? Like that's something that like an older kid sees, or is that something that you give to a younger kid in the hopes that maybe it kind of influences or expands their interests?
Yeah, I mean you could throw it in there really at any time. A 3-year-old would be happy watching.
Has your
this
5-year-old
movie.
seen it?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Although he hasn't seen it in a little while.
Do you think there's a chance that a kid can sit through it?
Yeah, well, as much as a kid can sit through any movie.
Yeah. All right. What do you do in that situation? Do you kind of pause and come back to it?
No, I just push him down in the chair, and I say, if you get up one more time, I'm taking off my belt.
You say, you will enjoy this.
I better see a smile on your sorry little face.
That's funny. All right, so my second
they
movie,
drift in and out as they want to. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. All right, so my second movie is something that actually I watched over the last. I actually watched it with my son. I started watching it yesterday with him, and he seemed I don't know. He seemed pretty neutral about it, but it was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and I had we had finished most of it, and so I just wrapped up the rest of it while we were he was having his milk and getting ready to go to bed, so we watched the tail end of it, like the last 15 minutes. I thought that movie was the greatest thing in the universe when I was a kid. I was, 10 or 11.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome. And it is not great, but it's great for kids. And I think, for lack of a better word, I would almost recommend you maybe watch it a little younger. I mean, there's some stuff. There's a scene where like an ant and a scorpion fight that can be kind of maybe traumatic, but I would still maybe say give this to a kid who's like 5 or so, because which is also what I said about Babe. But there's something I feel like it's important to show kids those older movies before computer special effects, so that I don't know, because I feel like if you show them enough movies with the computer special effects, they will hate the older stuff. Like they won't even want to watch it because it's rough around the edges. Like if you watch it now, it's got the stop motion animation, little, I guess, like puppets type of thing they're trying to do with like the ants, and also like the whole shrinking special effects. That's kind of weird. So I would say, yeah, go show this to your kid before you're 5. It is. I don't think there's any foul language. It is a Disney movie basically. So
yeah, I
don't know. What's your experience with it? Do you remember watching it? Or?
I remember watching it once when I was a kid, and I don't think we really watched it again.
Huh. That's funny because it was like one of those, VHS tapes weren't all that popular. They weren't really that common, not the way DVDs were.
Yeah.
But we had a VHS copy of that thing, and I loved it. I remember watching it a zillion times. So yeah, it's just me.
See, if there were dinosaurs in it, I probably would have watched it more.
Yeah. No dinosaurs. But I mean, there's the giant dinosaur-sized scorpions.
That's not a dinosaur. It's a normal-sized scorpion. They're just tiny little people.
You
can't fool me.
All right. All right. So, give me your song number 1.
All right, songs are tricky, I think, because you hate to sound like some kind of music snob or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I should not. And I was trying to tell you before we started the podcast, like, I think it's important to let the kid be a music snob when he's 18. Let him do that, but like, let's go and lay down the base layer of basically saying, like, in order for you to appreciate that song, you need to have heard this song, maybe. That type of attitude, just kind of like, and also like we're trying to avoid the kid being in a situation where like everybody in the room has heard this song, or everybody in the room is dancing this song, or everybody in the room knows "You Can't Touch This" by MC Hammer, and this kid has no clue because he's been sheltered from it. So,
you can't shelter, but I don't know. I'm just hoping that my son always listens to cooler music than his peers.
Yeah.
We every now and then in my house we'll have a little dance off. We'll play something. We'll just all be dancing, and there's a radio edit of a popular song that we currently like. That's frequently on the playlist. I believe the formal name of this song is "In **** asterisk asterisk S in Paris. And
okay, yeah.
Yeah, we all love that song. It's funny hearing my son with the radio edit because he'll be going around the house saying, "That cray, that cray."
Wow. Yeah. I don't know if I've heard that. I've heard of that song.
Oh, you need to hear that song.
I don't think
it's an awesome song.
All right. That's what is that, like Jay-Z and Kanye,
yes,
right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. It's amazing how all the things you talk about tonight I know about, but I haven't experienced. I have not, like The Hobbit, Silent Movie, My Neighbor Totoro. I don't even, but I know about it, so that's worth something, right?
Well, it's like that kind of music gets me all pumped up for when I'm going on a run or when I'm giving blood or something like that.
So, all right, man. Tell me, like what age you're saying? Like, is the radio edit? That's pretty much appropriate for any age.
Well, arguably, maybe not. Arguably, it's just an appropriate for my 5-year-old as it would be for any young age, I guess. And if I was a bit more of the uptight kind of parent, then I'd probably find issue with it. But really, I feel that you should always be willing to play things that are awesome.
Yeah.
And right now he believes in parroting things, so I don't really want him to hear all the bad words just because he might be saying them without really giving them any thought or understanding.
Yeah.
But it is awesome, so it gets a pass.
All right, man. So you're saying 5? Go ahead.
5 months.
5 months. 5 months doesn't matter. Just whatever age. All right. Maybe we'll say 3 on that one. I don't know.
Sure.
All right. So my song, in stark contrast to what you just mentioned, is "Sitting on the Dock of the Bay" by Otis Redding. I think it's one of those songs. Actually, you know it. It's just one of those songs that you always know growing up.
Yeah.
But maybe you wish that you just hadn't heard it until you were like 18.
Mm-hmm.
Just one of those songs that I think kind of, I guess when you fully appreciate just that type of relaxing. I think when you're a kid, you don't really appreciate the concept of just sitting around and just enjoying everything that's going on around you.
So you're saying the kids should listen to a song that they are incapable of appreciating?
I'm saying that I almost wish that you could kind of wait to introduce that song until they're old, like till they're older.
Yeah.
And they just have like appreciation for just sitting around and, because I mean, like, kids are like nonstop. I don't know.
Yeah.
So sitting on the dock of the bay, that's another one I'd probably introduce pretty early. I might even go as low as like 2.
You got to be careful though, because you get those kids listening to Otis Redding, and soon they're going to be listening to all kinds of Otis Redding, and then they're going to be making babies.
Yeah, you're right. I probably need to hold off on that. I don't know if I'm going to go with 2. That's a good sing along song. I think that's. Plus, it's got that whistle part in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick to my guns on that one. All right, so what's your number 2 song?
All right, I'm gonna break a little from the strictly song format, but any kid between like 10 and 14, especially a boy, if you can find like a Dr. Demento compilation album for them, they're gonna be thrilled, absolutely thrilled.
I don't even know what the heck Dr. Demento
You what?
I'm
what?
Down. Dr. Demento compilation.
You've never heard of Dr. Demento? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh my God! No, all right. He is a radio DJ who used to have like a national show that was popular like in the 70s, but it's waned over time. I think it's just online now. But he plays novelty songs, just all kinds of bizarre stuff. The guy himself is just a crazy record collector. Not just novelty, but he's like a historian with this kind of thing. But he just does a show where he, adopts a wacky persona and plays all these, novelty songs that people recorded in their basements. He was the guy who first played Weird Al, who actually got him discovered.
So I mean, is it like age appropriate, or is it kind of all over the map?
It's all over the map. I mean, that's why I say when they're between 10 and 14.
14. Okay.
Because there's the stuff that's just kind of innocent, stupid, like Fish Heads and I'm Looking Over My Dead Dog Rover. And then occasionally you get some of the songs that have kind of dirty jokes in them, but it's not like filthy dirty. It's just kind of dirty. It's a good dirty for like a 12-year-old. So it's
all right. Yeah, I mean that's how I feel. We'll have this great debate or this great discussion one day, but that's kind of how I feel about Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Like I have no idea what exactly the right age for that, but there's like the perfect age to show that to a boy, especially.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you have to figure it out. Like
You have to go for.
I think it all depends on what's that.
You have to go for younger than you might think. Just it's easier if they think they're getting away with something.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I think it also depends on like how much like base layer of terrible sense of humor that you've layered on there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how much Mad magazines and that type of thing that you've kind of already snuck into the kid's head. So, all right. So my song number 2 is "Friday I'm in Love" by The Cure. So I actually haven't listened to it in a while, so I'm not sure how age appropriate it is, but whatever. It's a good song. I think that's a good kind of. Again, I'm shooting for like, especially for younger kids. I think like a good sing along song is something that's kind of easy for them to get into.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. That was just I think I was initially thinking we were going to do like a song a day. So that means there's like I don't know 5,000 or 6,000 songs to go through here. So
it's a lot, man.
Whatever. Yeah, what do you think? Does this one make the list, or is it okay?
Well, if you like it, it's not one that I'd choose, but I was.
No, man, we're making the definitive list.
I was never really into The Cure. It's not for me.
Really?
Right. I mean, I got older, and I'm like okay with that song, but not a whole lot of The Cure.
All right, well, give it another shot, man. Maybe try the acoustic version. All right, so I'm gonna say that one is maybe good for a 6-year-old, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, what's your third song?
All right, so I figure if you notice the kids today, some of them like the kids with the long hair who are into the guitars and stuff, they're still walking around with like Kurt Cobain T-shirts, mourning the loss of the heroes of our generation, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking. Kind of in line with my goal of my son listening to cooler music than everybody else his age. I want to have him listen to the Pixies' Debaser and really that whole album. Because, if the kids are listening to Nirvana, the Pixies are kind of a step up there.
Yeah.
Not to slam Nirvana, but, Kurt Cobain went to bed every night and got on his knees and prayed to be the Pixies.
Don't start any fights, man.
No, I'm not. I mean, I think it's documented.
So, all right, wow, man, you're batting 1,000 on this one. I don't even know if I've heard that song. So, I'm sure maybe I have, but it's not a part of my collection. I probably have. I think the only Pixie song I have is that one from the end of Fight Club.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Where is my mind?
Yeah, that's not on that album.
Yeah, that's probably the only. That's as close as I got to the Pixies. So, way to go, man! You batted 1,000.
I try.
You managed to pull out. Way to go! So, what age do you think Debaser by the Pixies needs to sneak into their brain?
Probably right when they're starting to get into high school, or whenever they start listening to that. The kind of rock music outside of Radio Disney.
All right, so 13.
Yeah, which is going to be banned in my household, by the way.
What?
Radio Disney.
Radio Disney. I was looking through. I didn't realize how many Disney channels there are now. Mm-hmm. There's like 4 of them, and I'm done with it. Like I've watched enough of that stuff over at my nieces and nephews' house and stuff, and it's not great. Mm-hmm. It's really not great, and there's sassy kids on the shows, and they're really it's just not something I want to stick in my kids' head. So. There goes any type of future sponsorship from Disney, but no thanks. We're not gonna. I don't know, and it's just what it is. Like it's the way the kids get hooked on it. Like they are really.
Oh yeah, they get them young.
I've been around kids. Yeah, they're kids. They're just like they live and die for that stuff. Like it's. I don't know.
And I think I'm bothered that it's largely harmless. I feel as a kid they need to be listening to something that will make me as their parent worry. They can't be listening to that stuff.
Yes. I remember being like 6 or 7 and my grandmother running in and shutting off the TV while I was watching You Can't Do That on Television.
Yeah.
It was like she was offended by whatever they had just said and she slammed the TV off.
I don't know.
Yeah. So,
what do you think's in the burger?
Man, we got to go watch that shit. All right, let me do song number 3. I mean, here it goes. Ready? It's Judy is a Punk by the Ramones. I feel like that's that's a good song again. I think to just lay on a kid pretty early, maybe 6 or 7, just to kind of let them see what a song can be. Because the Ramones is so. I mean, it's so different. I think than a lot of what a kid may have heard up until then. You know, it's just a lot different than anything else. I think you and I have talked about already.
Yeah. I mean, I was never really into the Ramones. I don't know that song, but I appreciate them.
Yeah.
They never made like a 7-minute song.
They what? They never made a 7-minute song?
Right. It's like
they did, but they played it in 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's like their whole songwriting philosophy is get in and get out as quick as you could, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. I'm a big fan of that. All right, man. Well, that's that's it. That's our one book, 2 songs, and 3 movies. We end up with 2 books, 3, 4. I can't do the math. We did the stuff. It was good.
We did stuff. You should have liked it.
We made a list. All right. So that's all I got, man. Did you have anything else?
I'm out.
All right, cool. So this has been the podcast for howtoraiseanawesomekid.com. You can email us at podcast@howtoraiseanawesomekid.com.
Yep.
That's where the website is too.
Yep.
And you can go there and look at basically nothing going on there.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll start on there. We'll start making this list, and it'll be something.
You write an email to us, and I'll write an article.
Yeah. There you go. Make it happen.
That's right.
There's got to be an email box somewhere that I'm not getting any emails on or something.
No, I don't think there is.
I can't believe it's been like 4 months now and nobody's emailed us. It's very depressing. And did I mention? I should have mentioned to you. I haven't checked lately, but we got like over 4,000 downloads of this show.
Oh, that's a lot. Congratulations.
People are actually downloading this. It's just not.
Thanks for listening,
talking to us.
Everybody.
Yeah, thanks, weirdos. Don't just keep listening in silence. Don't ever actually interact with us. Just keep listening.
Yeah, I'm talking to the cloud.
All right, Eric. Good night, man.
Good night.
Good talking to you.
See ya.